course I don't mind. Yay. Thank you very much, Adrian. We really appreciate it. And thanks for scheduling this. And thanks to everybody who's on the line listening. We really appreciate it. So I guess many of you might have done a little bit of research or know about Acumatica. I know we have some prospective partners and partners on the phone. I know we also have some customers and prospective customers. So everybody may be looking at this from a different angle, but as far as Acumatica goes, we are proud to say we are the fastest, most rapidly growing cloud ERP company today. And in large part, it's due to the number of partners that are helping us get the word out on how wonderful the product is. In fact, I should mention this, we're very partner friendly. We don't have any fees to join the program. We don't have annual fees to maintain the partnership. The online training is free. So we really do our best to support our partners. And one of the things that we also do is that we don't compete with them. So we are a 100% channel organization. All those happy customers that we have our partners to thank. So that really differentiates us from the competition. When you talk about the product itself, we don't have any legacy products. So we were developed for the cloud from the ground up. And it is a true browser-based mobile solution that can be deployed anywhere. That's really something that's unique about Acumatica. If you look at some of the competition, the product can only be deployed in their cloud, and you can only invest in it as a subscription. But with Acumatica, we believe in giving our customers and our partners options. So Acumatica can be deployed in our cloud, in any private cloud, or it can be deployed on-prem. And for those of you that would want to subscribe to the software, you can certainly do that. And we have purchase options as well. So some other things that set us apart is it's a very robust, full-featured solution. So of course we have core financials, we have distribution, we have our own CRM, our own fixed assets. And in addition to that, we have project accounting. And we've introduced the Commerce Edition of Acumatica, the Field Services Edition of Acumatica, the Manufacturing Edition, and for those of you that have been watching the news lately, we introduced the Construction Edition for Acumatica just about a week or so ago. So it's a very attractive solution for a wide audience, and what we wanted to focus on today is field service. So we've got our resident expert on field service, Tom Costa, with us today. And Tom, I really appreciate you showing everybody a bit about our field services initiative.
Well, thank you, Dawn. As Dawn had mentioned, and Adrian, my name is Tom Costa with Acumatica. And for the presentation today, we're really going to spend the bulk of our time in the field service modules, where we're going to sell a piece of equipment, install a piece of equipment, create a service contract for that piece of equipment, and then repair the equipment based on that service contract. So we're going to kind of, in the next 40 minutes or so, in a nutshell, give you a life cycle of a day in the life, so to speak, of a piece of equipment as it gets sold and repaired, which will give you a very good idea of what the product is capable of. But before we get started, I wanted to kind of, just take a minute or two to just go through a little bit of what makes up Acumatica. And the first part, and I think this is one of the real highlights of the product, is when you first log into Acumatica, you don't get the main menu. You actually are presented with a home page, which in many cases with our customers happens to be a dashboard. Now, because Acumatica doesn't charge for user licenses, anyone in your organization that you want to have access to Acumatica can have or share their own dashboards. So making Acumatica just a little bit easier to use, because the first thing you do when you log into Acumatica, you get your basically custom dashboard. So the idea behind what makes really dashboards so powerful is in the morning when you first get in, do you want to run 6 different reports to find out, where are we at for the month in sales? Are we profitable this month? How many cases do I have open? What do the appointments look like? Do I want to run a separate report or inquiry on all those different areas, or do I want one dashboard that can tell me exactly what is going on? And of course, all of these areas are drill downable. So if I wanted to see, in this case, those open cases, I could drill down and get a list of those open cases. But it's far easier to be able to just quickly look at the dashboard in this case that says I've got 16 open cases, which isn't too bad. That's why this widget is in green, but I've got 11 overdue ones. So those are the cases that I really need to focus on. So that's the most important thing of all of this information that I need to focus on. I can drill down and start assigning or finding out why those cases are overdue and get people working on them and kind of help improve the customer service. But I'm able to get to that, very important piece of information, a second after I log in. Oh, this is in red. Let's click on it. Let's find out what we have to do. So dashboards can be also made up of different widgets from virtually any part of the software. So I could have GL information next to AR information, next to sales information, next to support case or appointment information in one spot. So we're not limited to, oh, this dashboard is AR, I can only put AR data on it. No, in any of the dashboards that, like I said, so useful for the individual user, they can be really coming in from anywhere. So that was, like I said, one thing that I wanted to mention about is our dashboards, and that you can really get information from anywhere in the system onto one dashboard. And then the next thing that I wanted to mention was really, as Dawn had mentioned, we have what makes up Acumatica. So along the left-hand side, we have our workspace. So in our finance workspace, this is our GL. So any transactions, any financial reports that are specific to me, I can put on what's called my quick menu. I can also just click on it to see everything in the GL. So whether it's transactions, reports, setup screens, everything's really on one page. And the idea is, how can we make things easier for the user and not have them go all over the place to get to this? Let's put it all on one page for them. Banking is our bank rec module. So again, anything to do with our banking, bank reconciliation, again, on that workspace. As Dawn had mentioned, project accounting and everything to do with a project-based or really a time and billing, although we can have inventory items charged off to a project as well and different tasks. Very powerful module. AP, AR, sales order processing, purchasing, along with requisitions as part of that purchasing module, our inventory control module, field service, which is where we're going to be spending most of our time today, and equipment, which is where we would actually set up that service contract. In addition to all that, we do have a fixed assets module built into the system. So again, if you want that included in your license, we just include it. Multi-currency is available to us. AR contract management and deferred revenue are also modules that you can get and include into the system. We also have our CRM module for marketing and opportunities. And then some of the setup screens that are available to us as well. But today we're really going to focus in on our field service edition. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sell an item. So we'll click on the new sales order. And this will open up our sales order screen. Now, because we're fully integrated, you'll see that we'll have a create service order option available to us. So again, all of these modules, whether they're field service or sales or inventory, everything is very tightly integrated. So we'll go ahead and select a customer, and I'm going to use my type ahead feature. So rather than doing a list or knowing whatever, I just started typing and it found 2 matches to what I typed. So it's, very similar to like a Google search, because remember, we are just a website. So we found the customer we wanted. We'll go ahead and hit return. From there, we'll go ahead and say, yes, we are going to create a service order because we're going to install this stuff. and we'll go ahead and hit save. So that'll actually create the service order number that we're going to be working against after we get the items onto the sales order. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sell, well, in this case, we're going to sell an air conditioner. So I'm just going to, be able to type in air, and I'll be able to scroll down to my Infinity air conditioner, and I'll hit return. And I'll just scroll over and I'll hit quantity 1 next to that. And I'll just use my down arrow key. So one of the things that was that you'll learn about Acumatica is it's very keyboard friendly as well. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do an installation, and it's an air conditioning installation. So again, I'm just going to hit return from the list and select 1. So now that air conditioner installation, just to make a note of that, when we do service work, right, we can either have it as being a flat rate, which in this case is what it is. We're going to do the installation for a flat rate of $1,000, or it could be based on time. Now, when I set up that service item, the installation of the air conditioner, I set aside saying that typically is going to take 2 hours for us to install. So I'm still measuring time against it for, scheduling purposes, but it's still just a flat rate. So we'll go ahead and click save. So the next thing that I want to do is I actually want to get this air conditioner out to the customer. So I'm going to go over to my actions button, and right from within the sales order, I can create the shipment. Now I can do this as a bulk process for all of the shipments that I have to create, but for today's presentation, I'm just going to do it right from within the transaction itself. So I'm going to click OK on the shipment parameters. And now it's going to open up the shipment screen for me, where I'll be able to manage the shipment. So in this case, again, this is more of our distribution functionality, but we're going to pick serial number 11 for this particular air conditioner. And from here, we obviously can print the pick ticket. We can either ship it out, or we can say we're going to use one of our own trucks. It really doesn't matter, but the air conditioner is now going to be available for us to install. So I'm just going to go ahead and confirm that shipment for us. So now I'm going to go back to that sales order real quick, and I'm just going to go back over there. And when I click on sales orders, I can see an entire list of all of my orders, including the one that we just created. Oops, wrong sales order. So from our sales order, we'll go ahead and click on our schedule button. So again, everything's very tightly integrated. And this is going to pull up our dispatch board, or our calendar board as we call it. And from here, I'm going to be able to really take a look at all of the work that we need to schedule for this particular transaction. So here is our service order, and when I just down arrow it, I can see that we have the one installation. Now on the calendar board itself, one of the things that I can do is I can filter the staff. So I can filter it based on the geography. Where is the customer located, and which techs cover that geographic area? What licenses does that technician need to hold in order to install a Carrier air conditioner versus a Rheem or something like that? And then also, what skills do they need to possess? So again, we can filter the staff completely to who's available, where's the work, what skills do they have, what license they have, so we can go from 20 or 30 technicians down to maybe just 2 or 3. So at that, we'll go ahead and drag the appointment over to Joe Beecher, and we'll let it go from the 7 to 9 a.m. because he's available at that time. And this is going to open up the actual appointment screen for us. And from here, we're going to be able to, first off, we'll just go ahead and save it just to get it started. And really at this point in where we're at, after we save it, the next thing that we would probably do is send an email confirmation to the customer, but we also want to send an email confirmation over to the staff member as well. So in that case, Acumatica fully capable of doing all the emailing directly from the system. So we'll just go ahead and click OK there. And at this point, we can see that the appointment's now in green and we've blocked off that 2 hours. As we go through the life cycle of an appointment on our calendar board, it can go from green to when it's in process, when the tech's actually on site and started the appointment. We can then go down to a blue level. So color coding the appointments is going to make it very easy for your dispatcher to be able to see who's on site. Are they confirmed appointments? Are they there yet? Have they completed the appointment? So during that entire life cycle, these codes will actually change colors to reflect the status of the appointment. So now let's just go over to my, back to my dashboard. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my iPhone to be able to look at all of the appointments that are now available for us. So here is my iPhone, and I'm just going to go over to the Acumatica app and log in as Joe Beecher using my incredibly secure password. So within Acumatica, another part that's available to us is not only being able to access Acumatica through the browser, but also being able to access it through my mobile phone. So either whether it's an iPhone or an Android-based phone, functionality is the same. So I'm going to scroll down to my appointments list. As you can see, quite a bit of Acumatica has already, out of the box been exposed to my phone. So I'll go ahead and click on my appointments list. And there's the appointment that we just scheduled. It's now on my phone. And so Joe takes a look at it and, okay, I'll go ahead and let's get into this appointment now. So the first thing that Joe might actually do when he sees that is, well, where is this customer located? So we really try to take advantage of as many of the native capabilities of a phone as we can. And one of the things that's on all the phones is a map function. So first thing we want to do is, well, how are we going to get to the customer? So right on his phone, we're going to be able to get the driving directions to where the customer is located. Now, obviously, we could tell this is a live demo. I'm located in Colorado. The appointment customer is located in New Jersey. So it's only going to take me 1,618 miles to drive over to this customer, or the equivalent of, according to Bing Maps, a day and a half. So once we've driven to the customer, we'll get the directions, but then we'll go back to Acumatica. And Joe's been now able to drive over, get to the appointment. So the first thing he's going to let everybody know is that he's on site and he's going to start the appointment. So this is now gone, the status has now gone to an in process status. And on the dispatch board, the appointment will have changed from green to blue. So as we go through and do the appointment, one of the things that we're going to be able to do is, as Joe installs the air conditioner, he may want to be able to take a picture of the completed work. So we'll take a photo, again, using the native functionality. And again, picture my coffee cup as the installed air conditioner on site now. And now that image, that JPEG file, has now been saved into the Acumatica database. It's not simply a link from my camera roll. We've actually saved these images into the against the appointment. Now, the other thing that we might want to do is he's probably got some notes that he wants to take and just talk about the appointment, but I'm not really that good at typing. So I'm going to use the dictate function of the phone to say that the installation is complete. And now that those comments are stored in the database. So again, it really is trying to leverage the technology of what these mobile devices include, taking a picture using the dictate function. So the last thing we want to do is have the customer sign off on the work. So it was Tom, and I agree that the work was done correctly. And I'll just go ahead and hit save right there. And then the last thing that I want to do is I want the customer to sign the report. So now my signature has been captured as well. So, now we'll go ahead and complete the appointment. And we can then email that signed work order to the customer again right from my phone. Or we can go ahead and view it on my phone. And as you can see, the work has been done and my signature is on the report. So really quite a bit, we're able to leverage the phone, and the status of the appointment is now completed. So taking advantage of the phone is really going to help the technicians in the field record the work that they've done, find out where they need to go, but also give the back office that signed work order saying the customer accepts it. And there's nothing like when we try to collect from a customer when we have their signature on a piece of paper saying, yep, the work was done right. And again, that's to hopefully speed up the AR collections, but also have an image of that installed unit as well as even further backup, along with all of the documentation about, doing the installation. Again, we're not having them start taking a technician, having them start text into their phone. We're going to have them dictate those comments into that. So they're going to be able to be a complete list of all of the work that we've done and capture all of that information. So we'll go ahead and sign off of the phone, and we'll go back over to Acumatica ERP now. And on the calendar board, I just want to refresh this screen to show that the appointment has now gone from green to now gray, which is the completed status for it. So let's give it a chance to refresh. So now that's completed. So let's go ahead and drill down on that appointment now so we can see all of that information that was captured. So again, when I logged in from my mobile phone, it was hitting the same URL that my browser on my laptop was hitting. So as we look at this appointment, I'm just going to make this screen a little bit bigger now. As we look at that, the first thing we want to look at is, yep, there's who signed it and my information. There's all the comments that I had. We're also going to be able to give you the GPS locations of where was your technician standing when he started the appointment. Was he actually at the customer, or was he at his driveway still? So again, we're going to play a little bit of Big Brother now for you. And if we want, we can record the start and stop locations of where they were. The last thing that I want to highlight is, first off, those images, right? Now they're stored in our database right now. So here's a copy of the picture of, okay, again, picture in your mind, a installed air conditioner. And then also the signed work order, again, is going to be stored in our database. So again, there's my signature right on the form. So again, trying to make it easy for the back office people to understand what's going on. So we'll go ahead and close some of these. windows up. Now, the last thing that I want to do at this point is we'll just go ahead and close the appointment up. And I'm probably going to want to close some of these other windows up. I'm done with my calendar board, and I'm done with the, well, the sales order we actually want to be on. So right now on this sales order, we want to go back over to that shipment, because now that the work's been done, we had a confirmed shipment because obviously the equipment got out to the customer. So the last step that we want to do is take that shipment and prepare the invoice from it. So again, this can be another bulk process that we can do from all of the confirmed shipments. Go ahead and send out all the invoices. But in this case, I'm just going to do it one at a time. So once the invoice is done, we can go ahead and again email the invoice to the customer, just like we did the order confirmation. So emailing is really an integral part of the Acumatica system. And we'll go ahead and hit release. Now, when I click on release, that's Acumatica speak for post to GL. So we call it release. In some of the other systems I've worked with, we've called it a variety of other things, but we've now posted this AR invoice to the GL. And you'll notice as I did that, two things. One, every time an operation that I click on is completed successfully, I get this nice little green check mark on the top of that form, which is really a nice little visual cue to the operator using Acumatica that whatever I wanted to do, it works just fine. If something was an error, there would be a red X there. So again, nice visual cues with a nice little pop-up that says exactly what's going on. So now that we're done with that, what we've actually got is we were able to sell the equipment and install the equipment using my mobile device and our calendar board. What that actually created was an equipment ID that now we're going to be able to work against. So in the system, as I invoice the product and the customer took ownership of it, we can see that serial number 11, which we saw earlier in the shipment phase, was what this customer had and where are they located with it. And some of the other information is some of the components of this item may have separate warranty periods than the main air conditioner. So we're able to detail out all of the components that make up the air conditioner. So I'm just going to record the serial numbers of these items, of the different components that we have. And each one of these components has its own life cycle as well. So at this point, the last thing I want to show you is on that equipment ID, and again, this kind of goes back to just how fully integrated everything is we're going to be able to see the original sales order number, and of course, with a drill back to that sales order and to the AR invoice, where we actually would collect the money for it from the customer against as well. So everything very tightly integrated. So let's go ahead and close up the equipment ID and the invoice. I think we're all done with that now. So the next step in all of this is we now want to create a service contract for the equipment that we just sold. So we'll go back over to our equipment module, and I'm going to create a new service contract. So it's going to be for our customer that we just had, and it's going to be a new contract, obviously. So the description is going to be AC contract number 2, and it's going to be for 1 year. So I'm going to put in a year from today's date. And the calendar control works rather nicely for that. So we've got our AC contract for 1 year. We can have, for the billing of this service contract, we can either say we're going to just take it from the customer pricing that's already set up in the system, or I could have specific contract pricing for just this one contract. We'll go ahead and accept the default of the price list. And now we're going to add the schedule to it, which is really the heart of the service contract. So on the first line that we see, it's going to be We have to pick the type of work it's going to be, and it's going to be an MRO, maintenance and repair. And the first line of what we're actually going to be doing is going to be on from the service side, it's going to be, a repair service for an air conditioner. Here's that billing rule that I mentioned earlier in our sales order. The service work that we do is going to be based on time as opposed to a flat rate. So when we define the service ID, we've defined this billing rule. And now on the equipment, we're going to just do a quick lookup of that. And again, we're going to pick serial number 11, which is this contract that we're going to create for. On the recurrence tab, how often are we going to do this? Well, let's go ahead and we'll pick monthly, and we're going to pick every 3 months, which is a quarterly contract. And I'll just hit save. So now if we look at the forecast, these are going to be the dates that we're going to do the work. So the first time we are going to work is going to be the week of March 26th. The next one is going to be the week of June 25th, and so on. So these appointments can start getting queued up either now or in some cases maybe only a week ahead of time. So again, we're going to know about when we're going to do the work. So let's go ahead now and click on the generate these potential service orders for us. And I'm just going to generate, let's see how far up. I'm going to generate all 4 of them. So here's the service contract that we just completed. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit process. One thing about our processes, the first chance I've had to talk about that, is any of our processes, whether it's creating service orders from a service contract, or printing pick tickets, or posting my shipments to the GL, all of those are processes, and all of those can be scheduled to occur automatically. So again, not to go too far into a detour, but again, we can define how often do we want this process to run? What days of the week? What conditions have to be true? What time do they want? So again, all of these can be a scheduled or an automation schedule attached to each individual process. Now, when our customers first go live with Acumatica, they may do things more manually because they want to just get the feel of the software and just see things work. And as they get more comfortable, usually about a month or 2 after the go live date, they'll start turning on these automation schedules for certain tasks, and then more and more and more until the system is really running on a very automated basis for you. So let's go ahead and click on the process, and it's been generated now. So the next step would be to go back over to my calendar board. So I'm just going to close some of these up, go back over to my calendar board, and we'll see those 3 appointments. So as we start drilling down on them, we can see that these have not been scheduled yet. I can always drill down on it. So in this case, this first appointment, I think was going to be scheduled on, we promised them to do it on April 1st. Nice day to be able to do that type of work. So let's go over to April 1st and see what we've got planned. Now that's a Sunday. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule this for that following Monday, April 2nd. Because these are all in blue versus the white space area, this is telling me that these are the times that the technicians are available to work, and we've got nothing scheduled yet. So the first one we'll go ahead and give it back to Joe on April 2nd, and we'll go ahead and put it on at 8:30 in the morning. So we'll just go ahead and hit save right now. And notice that this is an unconfirmed appointment because it's so far in the future so that when we look at it on the calendar board, it's going to show up in red. It's also moved away from the available to schedule. So again, we can start scheduling these well in advance of when they need to be completed. So let's go back over to the mobile app now. Let me turn that back on. And go over to my app, and I'll just make my screen a little bit easier and log back in as Joe now. And we'll go ahead and pull up his appointment list. Now you'll notice we don't see his appointment right now, but if I hit my filters, I can now look at or go well into the future. So we're going to make this April, and now we can see that April 2nd appointment. So again, I'm not going to go through some of the things that we just did, but what I am going to do is we are going to obviously start the appointment. And as we're doing this service work against the service contract, one of the things that Joe notices while he's on site is one of the items, it's not working correctly. So we have to take a part off the truck to fix the air conditioner. So we'll go ahead and insert an inventory item off the truck. And just like I did with the dictation notes, I don't have to type anywhere in the system off the keypad. Compressor. I was able to just say what I was looking for, and the system found it for me. Because I'm replacing a component, which is what that compressor was from the item list that we saw when I looked at the equipment card, we're going to say we're going to be replacing this component for that item. And the component ID was the compressor, and it was line 1. Now, it's showing up as being an in-warranty item. Now, we're always going to want to try to bill people, so that's just how we're wired. But we're going to make this not billable because it is under warranty, and we'll give them the $300 item compressor off the truck at no charge because it's under warranty. We can see the warehouse that I'm pulling from happens to be truck 1 because that's the truck that we were using at the time. So that's whose inventory is going to be relieved. So all of our trucks are in essence nothing more than rolling warehouses. So we'll go ahead and hit save on that appointment, and we'll complete the appointment. So now it's a completed appointment, and we'll go back over to the Acumatica system, and we'll go ahead and drill down on that appointment now. And again, just for review purposes, when appointments are completed, that's really a status for the accounting department to be able to review the work that was done so that they can, in essence, close the appointment so that it can then be billed. So the very last thing that I want to do in this whole life cycle is we'll go back over to our services screen, and we're going to now generate an invoice from that closed appointment. So we're going to, since we relieved inventory, we're actually going to use our sales order module to be able to complete this transaction. And the up to date is going to be over there into April 2nd, and the customer was USA Bartending. Kind of skim down this list a little bit. So there's our invoice for the AC contract number 2, for the work that now has to get completed. Now, the item, the parts were under warranty. However, the service, the actual appointment, when we created the service contract, we were working on a bill as you go basis. So we never really sold the contract, but we're going to charge them for the individual appointments as the work is completed. So that's how we set up this particular service contract. So we've now generated the invoice. So let's go ahead and take a look at that invoice now. And we'll drill down to that invoice. So here's the invoice for the work that was done. And we'll notice two things. One, the invoice is only for $75 because we're billing them for the service, but the item, because we said was non-billable, we're going to relieve the truck's inventory, but that's going to go out at no charge. So we'll go ahead and now prepare that invoice for the customer, just like we did the first time. So a very, consistent way of doing things. We're going to prepare the invoices first. And again, that could be a bulk process, could be scheduled as well. And then the last step is we're then going to release that invoice and ultimately post it to the GL, create an open AR receivable for the $75, and relieve inventory of the compressor out of truck one's inventory. So when we look at that item, let's go back over to that target equipment item to see what got recorded on the equipment card. So as we pull that up, let's go over to the components. So the first thing we're going to see is that original line for the compressor, that particular serial number was disposed, meaning it's been replaced. So on the equipment card, we're going to really track everything to do what we've done with that piece of equipment. At the very last line, we can see that serial number 1 was the new compressor, and it has a 3-year warranty, but we put it in on April 2nd, so it's 3 years from April 2nd is the warranty for that compressor component of the air conditioner that we sold. So that's really the full life cycle of let's sell the equipment and we're going to install it. We're going to we used our calendar board to schedule that installation. The technician had it on his phone for the work that was going to be done for that day, and he was able to view it on the map, dictate his comments, take pictures of the completed appointment, and then ultimately complete the appointment so that accounting could then invoice for the work that was done. We then created a service contract, which was a quarterly checkup of the equipment that we just sold. We were able to schedule the first of those quarterly appointments, complete the work, but while we were out there, we were able to take parts off the truck, and because it was under warranty, the parts were no charge, but we were going to bill them based on our agreement in the service contract for the appointment that we did. And then ultimately we recorded the fact that the original part was disposed of, and here's the new part with its new warranty takes now into place of the original component. So at that's that full life cycle of the field service piece using not only Acumatica ERP, fully integrated to GL, AR, inventory control, sales order processing, field service, and service contracts, but also the mobile device is an integral part of the solution as well. So at that, Adrian, are there any questions for what we were able to show the audience today?
Yes, there are several questions, and I'd like to announce those questions while I am launching a poll here, if I may. And I did flash up the contact information for Don If you would like to take note of that, and let me launch this poll. There we go. So are you interested in learning more about any of the following? So if you can just take a second to answer this question: Acumatica Partner Program, Acumatica Field Service Edition, or not at this time, that would be awesome. And we do have several questions here, so I'm going to look at those. Okay. Thank you, Caitlin, for your question. Tom, does this eliminate the need for their legacy scheduler as a value add?
Yes, it would, because our calendar board is going to show all of the appointments either from a daily basis, but as you saw, I could scroll over to virtually any day to see when the technicians that have the right skills in geography and licenses are available to be able to do the work. So yes, I would say that it would most definitely take the place of any legacy scheduling software that they might be using right now, because it's all going to be built in, which makes it a lot easier than having 2 and 3 places to look, the classic islands of information. Let's just have one island now.
And thank you, Rick, for this question. What if the dispatcher does not schedule it? Our dispatchers never schedule for the franchisees.
So that's probably a question I'd like to take offline with a little more detail, because I don't completely understand. So if they're trying to schedule a third party to do the work, then you're right. Our scheduling board is really only applicable for our own staff members. Now, you could create that third party as a staff member so that you can see that this appointment is going to be dealt with by this third party. But one of the things you'd have to do is obviously create it as an unconfirmed appointment until after you talk to that third party, and once they've agreed, yes, they're available next Tuesday to go do this work, then you could confirm the appointment. So it would go from red to green, and again, be able to show you in one spot what's going on. But you would simply set up that third party franchisee as a staff member, which we could do.
And I think that Rick might be interested in a custom demonstration, Tom. So would Rick just reach out to you, Dawn, to coordinate that?
Yeah, just make a note of that. Yep. And make sure that you pick one of those 2 options, either about the field services edition in this poll here, and any note that you're able to put in there, and we can make sure the appropriate person follows up with you.
Perfect. And then we have a question from Angela. And I believe that Angela confirmed that you answered this question, but just in case this is a question that someone else might have, and just to make sure we answer it, can you take payment in the field?
Not at this time. When we're on the mobile device, it doesn't have a provision for taking a payment in the field. It is something that we could look at as a one-off, as a customization for that mobile app, but currently that's not supported.
And
I wonder if there could, I was just thinking out loud, I wonder if there could be an interface with Square or something like that.
It's entirely possible to do that. And that's why I was thinking possibly as a one-off customization, if they've already got a field service or some type of field payment system that the customer is already using, we could look into integrating something like that into the solution. But yeah, that's probably what we would wind up doing.
And can you put a work order on hold? Angela has that additional question. Thank you, Angela.
Of course you can. Yes, it's just one of the statuses of the either of the service order that was created, which in turn spawned the appointments. We could of course put that service order or work order on hold so that you can't schedule anything until it's off of hold, obviously.
And you can specify the reason for the hold, correct?
Sure. We have on the system itself, we have that a comment section so that you could put in, a comment on that work order that would be highlighted so that there's a visual cue that says, yes, there's a note attached to this work order, and you could put in the description of why is this on hold at this time for any number of reasons, right?
And does the mobile app work offline?
No, it is an online, so they do have to have either a Wi-Fi connection or they can run it off of a cell signal, but it does have to be online to the internet.
Can you specify whether a work order is billable or not?
Yes, you can. Either by the type of work that's being done, but you could also specify when you're creating that work order that, yes, it's for this, but we're going to override the price, making it virtually non-billable. But again, the customer pricing, the service contract, all of that can play into having this as if it's really a non-billable appointment for the type of work we're doing. It could come up at a $0 amount automatically for you. So some of it depends on how you're setting it up or why are you making this non-billable, but yeah, most certainly. So.
And can you specify different pay rates for the technician based on their skills?
Not necessarily based on their skills. Now the pay rates for what we pay them, that's really not, is it the pay rate of what we're paying them, meaning the cost of the employee, is that what we're looking at? Or is it the what we're charging to do a particular piece of work? So typically when we pay that is based on the employee cost, and every employee in the system, we're setting them up in the system, they'll obviously have different type of costs associated with them based on what we pay. So probably need to know a little bit more about what we're trying to accomplish with that, but yes, we could.
Okay, and let's see, with appointments scheduled in advance, does Acumatica have a reminders feature? And if so, how can that be set up? Thank you, Sharon.
Well, one of the things, and that's a great question, by the way, is remember we first started talking about dashboards, and we saw those open appointments. So on the dashboard of, let's say, the dispatcher and of the technician itself, we could have a little widget out there that says upcoming appointments as the reminder, upcoming for the week, upcoming for tomorrow. So we're not limited to the number of widgets on a dashboard, but that's an excellent use of a dashboard as that reminder to be able to have something just as they're logging in. Okay, here are the appointments for the week. Here are the appointments for today. Here are the appointments for tomorrow. And they get like 3 or 4 different little widgets right there. So yes, we can do reminders.
And let's see here, another one from Angela. Thank you, Angela. If the work is for a project, does the cost of the inventory item to the project, even though you are not billing the customer?
Yes, in that case, if I had tagged, and again, another excellent question, I forgot to mention this as I was doing the service orders, is we can tag that service order, or even the sales order for that matter, to a project and to a specific task as we do the individual pieces of work. So even though the $300 compressor was unbillable, its $200 cost would have been costed out to that task on the project because we incurred the cost against it. We're just not billing for it. Those are really 2 different things. But if we do have a project tagged to that service order, we are going to be able to see that cost of goods sold, so to speak, on the appropriate task of that project.
And we do have another question about payment in the field. Can we process credit cards in the field? And I think you answered that there's several different third parties that might be able to do that, accomplish that feature with
Correct.
the field service app. It would just take a little bit of expertise in calling out to those providers, correct?
Right. Yeah, our API will talk to their API and we'll be able to bring in the payment against that appointment. So it's now a fully paid appointment. And as that invoice gets generated, the payment would be applied to that invoice as a paid invoice at that point. So yes, we actually do take credit cards in our sales order module. We just haven't extended that functionality to the service order module.
And we have another question from Toon. Thank you, Toon. Does the customer see the quote, sales order, and invoice on his customer portal?
Yes, they could. If they've got the customer portal, it's a sales order is a sales order is a sales order. So yes, they would certainly be able to see the sales order show up under My Orders on the portal, and they would be able to click on it to see the detail of it as well.
And is there a way to have time and material labor get billed on the same invoice as the equipment? Thank you, Darren.
I don't see any reason why not. The time and material, again, based on the service item that was on with that material, right? So if it's a time-based function, if I spend 3 hours in the field, we'll bill them 3 hours. If we took inventory off the truck, that inventory item would be billed as well, and both would show up on the same invoice.
And we have a question regarding pricing. Is the minimum annual fee for this edition $40,000 and scale up from there?
I have no idea. That's a question for Don Jager.
Okay.
So actually, that would probably be the best question for if you're a customer, to direct that question to your partner. And if you're a partner, I would say direct that question to your partner account manager. And we can take that offline. I mean, pricing is, we price in such a different fashion that it's difficult to say what a price would be until we know how it's going to be deployed, because of course we have the different deployment methods. Also the size of the organization, the opportunity, because we don't price by user, those types of things. So a little bit too complex for a pat answer today, but I'd say direct it to those people that I mentioned and we can absolutely get you an answer.
And is the technician's cost tracked against the service order and or contract as well as the GL?
Typically, the cost is really going to be associated to the appointment, because that's where we have this technician spending this amount of time, and we can, because we know what that technician's costs are, we can use our inquiry function to be able to see what the cost was. If you're integrated with, if we're using project accounting, then his cost, just like the material cost of the item, his cost for 1, 2, or 3 hours would show up against the project by default.
And Pamela, we would like to get with you after this call about your client and make sure that all his questions were answered. And I see that he has left the presentation, so I just want you to know that we're going to address his questions. And Toon, if so, the home improvement company must have a minimum annual revenue of about 10 million, correct? And I think that's a pricing question. So Toon, we'll get back to you on that. And Charles, thank you so much for your question. We also would like a custom demo. Okay, so that question will be noted on the report that I hand over to you, Don. And let's see. Pamela, will definitely get back to you in regard to your customer, and so that'll all be handled. Charles, what is the price for the field service edition? We will handle that one. We'll get you answers to that question. And Elaine, how do you handle warranty calls that occurs before the next scheduled date? Thank you, Elaine.
Well, whenever you schedule, let's say, like an ad hoc appointment for that specific piece of equipment, so in the service order, we're going to say, customer calls in, hey, my air conditioner is not functioning. As soon as we say, okay, we pick the customer, we pick the type of work we're going to do, then we're going to look up that equipment ID. And that equipment ID is going to say, hey, this thing is still under warranty. Okay, fine. So as I didn't show this on the presentation, but there are a couple of additional columns on that service order that says warranty and billable. And you just it'll come up automatically as being under warranty, because if it still is. But again, we can just uncheck billable at that point on the service order so that the technician doesn't have to do anything about that. It's just going to be, let's just go out and fix this thing. And whether the service line is billable and just the parts are no charge, or if the labor is included, you know, it depends on what's included in the service contract or how you want to handle that. But most definitely we can have the visibility to see, yes, it's under warranty, and yes, it's not going to be billable for us to come out and fix your air conditioner. In this
example. And I know that we're at the hour here. We have 2 more questions, and we appreciate you just hanging in there with us to announce these remaining questions. Can this be integrated with Service Tech time cards? Thank you, Brenda.
I would probably say yes, but before I could give you a definitive answer, we probably have to take a look and see what the API for that other product looks like, so to make sure that one, does it have an API so that we could integrate it to it, and then what level of integration, what do you actually want it to do? We could certainly look at their offering and be able to give you a quote as to what that integration could cost. But that would be something that we'd have to look into for you. But if they have an API, the default answer is usually yes, we probably could, but I couldn't begin to tell you how much effort it would take to integrate it to the level of what you're looking at. But so a couple of variables in that question as well.
And can there be reminders, alerts to clients about an upcoming appointment?
Sure. We could have these. Remember how we had the email confirmation go out to the customer? Well, that was really based on a notification template. So when we create notification templates, we could say one of the conditions of that template could be at the scheduled appointment date -7, send this email reminding them that we're going to be out next week to fix your air conditioner. So email reminders to the customer can be created using our notification templates, which are similar to our automation schedules, only it's not going to run a process, it's actually going to send an email instead. So the answer is yes, we could create that for you using our notification template.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up the questions. I'm going to go ahead and close out that poll so you can see Dawn's contact information and take note of that. And we just thank you all for joining us today. We know your time is hard to come by, and you spent an hour of it with us. And Dawn, would you like to offer any closing comments?
Well, just to reiterate what you said, Adrian, we really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for the interest in the field services presentation. Tom, you did a great job as always, and we welcome you to reach out to us, and we'll get in touch too if you've requested that, so we can keep the conversation going. We'd certainly be interested in speaking with you, and thank you again for your time.
And just a note, everyone, we did record this webinar. We will be sending the follow-up recording to everyone who registered, along with Dawn's contact information. And you can always take a look at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ERPVAR. And you can browse our Acumatica recorded webinars. Thank you, everybody, so much. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you two at Summit next week.
You bet. Wouldn't miss it. Thanks so much, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.